Welcome to Convince Me. We are back for a very special Thanksgiving and Black Friday episode. We are thankful for you and for the chance to be betting on football Thursday, Friday, Sunday, Monday. This is the top of the power hour, the only NFL pregame show with all of the stuff you care about and none of the fluff you don't. I am Chad Millman. Over the next 30 minutes, my Action Network buddies, Sean Koerner, Simon Hunter, and Chris Raybon will try to convince me what props, what sides, what totals we should bet for the Thursday, Thanksgiving, and Friday, Black Friday slate. Plus, we have Evan Abrams with market reports and trends that make you sound smarter than your friends. We will also welcome in Dr. Nick Giffen, who will take us through the latest need to know from our luck rankings at the bottom half of the hour. Gilles, Gallant, Brian Matthews going to bring you the touchdown props you need to bet on the touchdown show. Before we begin, a reminder, like this video, subscribe to the Action Network YouTube page, and download the Action Network app to get all the picks, all the data, all the research we talk about on the show today. Look at this week 12 leaderboard as we head into the Thanksgiving Black Friday games. Chris Raybon pulling ahead a little bit. That's exciting. All right, Sean Koerner, you are up first.
Well, is the leaderboard gone? Okay, I'll open my eyes.
Yeah.
All right.
We're talking. We're going through each game. We're doing Bears Lions first.
Yeah, Barons. I'm going to go with a prop here. I'm going with Cole Kmet under 33.5 receiving yards. Last week, I cashed on his over 2.5 receptions. Of course, that wasn't on Convince Me, so that crushed. He ended up with 7 because I liked his upside against the Vikings, but this is a much different spot here. And his target share has been really inconsistent this year, and this is going to be a really tough spot against the Lions. They rank first in DVOA against tight ends. They're allowing the lowest yards per attempt to the position. Only 3 tight ends have cleared this number against them this year. And a huge reason of that is just the Lions use a ton of man coverage, the highest rate in the league. So typically you're going to have safeties, Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph, locked up on the opposing tight end. Linebacker Alex Anzalone was actually the worst Lions defender against tight ends, but he's on IR, and all the other linebackers have been much better. So this is actually a tougher spot now for Kmet. But he's the Bears pass catcher who has the biggest drop off in yards per route run against man coverage, nearly a full yard lower per route run against man coverage. So he gets the biggest hit of the group here. So with the wide receiver trio playing well, Caleb running the ball more, this is just going to be a tougher spot for Kmet to clear this. I'm projecting his median closer to 28.5 yards with about a 61% chance he stays under 33.5 here.
All right, Cole Kmet. Kudos to you, by the way, on the Cole Kmet prop from last week. I was watching that game. I was thinking, there's another one. There's another one. There's another one.
Yeah.
Good for Koerner. Simon, you're no turkey. Give me your bet.
I'm going with the Lions minus 9.5, and we've been talking all week about this game, right? And this was kind of the chalky side. This is the public side. The professionals were heavy on that Bears side, and we've seen this number come down. And now it's so much where it's like, how do I not take this now that it's under 10? This is such a good number in this matchup for this Lions team. And the biggest one we talked about is just the Lions dominated that Colts team. They really didn't have to play a fourth quarter. On the flip side, this Bears team is coming off a really brutal divisional game on a short week now, going on the road to a noon game. It just feels like it's too much for this young Bears team to overcome, especially when you're going against a veteran team like this Detroit team that they know exactly who they are and what they're going to do, which is run the ball down this Bears team's throat. So not only is the matchup great for this Lions team, but I think we're just looking at a really bad spot for this Bears team. And I don't know. You're like me. I feel like I got away with them last week betting that Bears team, right? That 3.5, it was dead. It came through. Thank you, Bears, but I have to jump off this week. It feels like it's going to run out at some point. This is the week to do it. So we all know Goff in these matchups against the NFC North. He's just been dominating his career. He's 15-5 against the spread in this division. It's his second best mark behind Aaron Rodgers. So it's just the numbers speak for itself. It's just, even when they make him a huge favorite, he tends to cover these type of numbers. So I'm going to ride with Goff in this spot.
Well, guess what we got? We got a little Thanksgiving divide. We got the right and the left trying to come together on Thanksgiving Day. Chris Raybon, what do you got?
Chicago Bears plus 9.5. I think this is a good spot for the Bears. First of all, you did shut down Jared Goff twice last year. The Detroit Lions did not cover in either game against the Chicago Bears last season. And the reason was Jared Goff really struggled against that Bears defense. He averaged under 6 yards an attempt, 3 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He took 6 sacks, and he just generally looked a little confused out there. And that was his worst performance against any team that he faced all year. 61 passer rating in the 2 games against Chicago. And now I agree. Minnesota, Chicago-Minnesota game, that was a brutal game, but Detroit is banged up. Their left tackle, Taylor Decker, didn't practice all week. He's probably not going to play. Their best cornerback, Carlton Davis III, the only cornerback ranked in the top 80, he's looking like he's not going to play. So I think it kind of goes both ways here. And we know the Chicago team is talented, right? Caleb Williams, every single one of their offensive linemen grades out 62nd percentile or better. We know their receivers are good. I know Sean is off Cole Kmet, but he's still a good tight end. So the offense is good. It was just the coaching staff with Waldron. And now he's gone. They're playing a lot smarter. Guys are in the right spots. They're utilizing Keenan Allen how they're supposed to. And the defense is real talented too. So I just think 9.5, look, more than one possession, I just think is too many points. I think this should be more of a +8 type of situation. Give the Lions a lot of respect, but the Bears are a really talented team, and I think they got rid of the most glaring issue, which was Waldron. Eberflus is, shaky, but again, his defense shut down Goff twice last year.
I don't need to hesitate on this one. It's the Detroit Lions. And I think we're in the middle of witnessing something special. We got to go back to the mid-2010s Patriots to get a team as dominant against the spread and now as dominant on the field as the Detroit Lions have been. And I'm looking at this team and I'm seeing a physical team that plays so consistently, because being physical and being violent is in the NFL, that does not take games off. Caleb Williams got the Bears back into that game with 3, 4, 5 miraculous throws that 90% of the time he cannot make those throws. Those throws are not completed. Then we're talking about a Lions team, 2nd overall in success rate, 2nd in rush success rate, 2nd in rush EPA, 3rd overall in EPA. And by the way, they're going against a Bears defense that is 26th in run stop win rate. They cannot stop the run. There have been 2 games this year where the Bears defense has stopped the other team from gaining more than 100 yards against the run. One of those was against the freaking Jaguars. Like, this is a terrible rush team. It's going to be 3rd and 8, and the Lions still know they can run the ball because they're going to go for it on 4th and 2 on the following play. This is a coaching mismatch. It's a confidence mismatch. The Lions, by the way, they might be the odds-on favorites to win the Super Bowl right now, but they still need to win their division, and they need to stay ahead of the Vikings. This is a must-win game for them. I think we get a dominant effort. I'm going with if it's not clear, I'm going with the Lions. No bias whatsoever there. All right. Next game. This game, we're trying to figure out who's playing quarterback in the Giants-Cowboys game. A lot of uncertainty, a lot of noise. This team is in total chaos, meaning the Giants. Oh, and by the way, the Cowboys' roof has literally been falling in. Sean Koerner, what are we doing?
Yeah, so the offensive player props are a disaster in this game. So I'm going to go with a defensive one, a tackles prop here. Tackles plus assists. Sorry. I'm going to go with Brian Burns of the Giants. Under 4.5 tackles plus assists at -115. This isn't a number that Burns typically clears anyway. He stayed under the 72% of the time this year, despite having a fairly good schedule in terms of, tackle opportunities for an edge rusher. And the Cowboys are a below average matchup for edge rushers in terms of that stat. And he stayed under this 83% of the time when facing teams that are below average. in terms of tackle ops for edge rushers. Plus, Cooper Rush is pretty good at avoiding sacks. He gets rid of it quick. Does a good job of avoiding sacks even when under pressure. So, Burns' sack upside is a bit lower here as well. And Rush doesn't scramble at all. And the Cowboys run inside at the highest rate in the league. So those are runs that Burns will be less likely to be involved in because he's on the outside. And if you couldn't think this prop could get any better, this is at Jerry's World where they have the stingiest scorekeeper in the league when it comes to dishing out assists. I don't know if it's because of, the sun getting in their eyes. This is the time of day where that could be an issue. So they don't know who the hell was in on the tackle. So they just give a solo tackle. So I love this prop. I'm projecting this closer to 3.8 with about a 65% chance he stays under 4.5 here.
By the way, if anyone doesn't think Koerner's scorekeeper stats and research doesn't matter, you weren't betting the Nick Cross over 7.5 tackles and assist prop for the Colts last week because the guy had 6 assists in the first half. So he was practically there before they went into halftime. Simon, what do you got for me?
Let me get the Giants plus 3.5 if you can still find it. This number, it looks like it's moving down to 3 now that Drew Lock has been announced as the starting quarterback, which, me and Chad, we've had a lot of experiences with this Drew Lock character, and not always the best, but at the end of the day, he is a gunslinger, and that's what we love about him is that he can look anemic for a whole game, then he can start pushing the ball downfield and kind of light a fire under this team. And the biggest play here is just about the trends against this Cowboys team. Like, it's pretty simple. This is America's team. On Thanksgiving, they're always going to give you an extra point and a half of value towards the spread just because the books know it's all going to be Cowboys money. And, the trends have backed that up, especially these last couple of years. We've seen that, the Cowboys, in their last 5 Thanksgiving games, they're 1-4 against the spread. They struggle. I mean, if you go back even further, Chad, back to 2011, they're 2-11 against the spread on Thanksgiving. So this is just a team that's always bumped up. Even when they had Romo, even Dak Prescott's great years, the spread was always too high, and they always kind of let down in this exact spot. So give me a Cowboys team that is kind of hyped up right now after that huge win against Washington that felt a little fluky, and a Giants team with the complete opposite side, right? They just got it blown out at home against the Bucs. Now they're on the road. No one likes this team. Everyone's talking bad about them. But we've seen this number now come down from 4.5 to 4 to 3.5 down to 3 at most books. So this is clearly the professional side. It's a side I like as well. I just think it's going to be a close, ugly game, and too much respect to a Cowboys team that, are they a good team? Are they well coached? I don't think they are. I think it was just a really good matchup for them last week and a fluky win. So give me the points with this Giants team at 3.5.
Yeah, that's terrible. Just terrible. Raybon, tell me something that is so much more attractive than that.
Let's go with the under 37.5. I kind of agree with Simon on the Cowboys side. Like it's a letdown spot. They had a big win last week. It was really exciting. Just a lot of crazy stuff happened. But the Giants, that's where I disagree. I think the Giants are not a serious football team right now. I mean, they started Tommy DeVito for what? And then what did he do? Bump his elbow, and now he can't start again on a short week. Like, I don't know. Like, this team is clearly either getting meddled with or tanking outright. And a big issue for them, they already didn't have Andrew Thomas, their left tackle. We know that's just pressure galore. Now Jermaine Illuminor is out as well, the replacement for Andrew Thomas. So their offensive line is in shambles again. Dallas is still getting pressure at a top 5 rate. Micah Parsons is back. So I just think this is going to be an ugly game. Did Drew Lock even take first-team reps until today? I don't know. So I just think it's going to be a sloppy game on both sides. And that Cowboy Commander game was 13-9. To Simon's point, it was 13-9 midway through the fourth quarter. So it was just a lot of fluky stuff that ended at 34-28. And the Giants, I mean, it was 30-7 for half the game after Tampa Bay got up on them. So I think this one goes way under. Just sloppy offense on both sides. Defense
midway through the fourth quarter, Raybon, that score, they scored 4 touchdowns in the final 3.5 minutes of that game.
Yeah.
It was just insane, fluky, rare, 92% cover probability to the under in that Cowboys Commanders game this past Sunday. Look, I'm going with Brian Burns. I lean Giants, but no one's getting the best of the number at this point. Also, I don't want to spend my my Thursday afternoon sweating the Giants and Drew Lock being an interception and a pick six away from not only killing the Giants' chances, but also creating more variance than I need in a game that will all of a sudden go over because he's thrown a turnover. So give me Brian Burns. Give me the under his tackles prop. Thank you, Sean Koerner. Let's talk about the public. It's going to be a lot of public money on Thursday and Friday. We love to fade the public. Let's take a look at where the majority of betting tickets are according to the Action app. For those who are new, the number of tickets generally represents who the public likes. The money percentage is also available in the app. Usually indicates who professionals like. No surprise, the Lions getting 74% of the tickets. The Cowboys getting 80% of the tickets with all this QB drama in New York. The Dolphins, the sharp side, potentially, because the Packers getting 56% of the tickets here. And then on Friday, the Chiefs getting the majority of the tickets. I'm wrong. It's the Raiders getting the majority of the tickets. Let's bring in Evan Abrams. He'll set me straight. He's going to make us smarter, hopefully feel better about the bets we are making today. Evan, go ahead.
Chad, we normally like to fade the public, but that is not the way it has been done, at least in the past on Thanksgiving. So public sides on Thanksgiving. Now you said it, all three home teams on the holiday are the public side currently, but they are 500 ATS or better every year since 2014, and 11 of the past 12 years, they've been 500 or better. Since 2005, 9 teams on Thanksgiving have closed with 74% of the tickets or more. Those teams are 9-0 straight up, 9-0 against the spread. Right now, that would definitely be Dallas, and Detroit is on the edge of that. Now, speaking of Dallas and Detroit, they haven't gone 2-0 straight up and 2-0 against the spread as a duo on Thanksgiving in 30 years. 1994 was the last time they both went undefeated on the holiday and went home eating good turkey. So we will see if that happens this week, since the public seems to be on both of those sides. And finally, I'll give you a nice little segue into your next game here. It's getting colder and colder. It's getting windier and windier, and that is Lambeau Field on Thursday night. It was about 30 degrees entering the week. Now we're down to about 25, 24 degrees. Winds also getting higher, about 12 to 13 now. In 32-degree temperatures or colder in franchise history, the Dolphins are just 11-28 straight up, including losing their last 9 games in cold temperatures. Their last win against the Steelers in 2013 is always Ryan Tannehill. So, guys, let's see what you like on this game.
Well, certainly Simon is hoping for that trend of the both home teams not covering to continue. This week, folks, our Black Friday pre-sale is live, and this is our biggest sale of the year for Action Pro. Do you want Koerner's props before everyone else? You also get the ticket and money percentages on every game and our pro systems. Sign up now, get $40 off an annual subscription. We talked a little bit about the Dolphins and Packers. Evan referred to it. Sean Koerner, what's your play?
Right, well, I got another tackles prop, of course. I'm going with Jalen Ramsey of the Dolphins under 4.5 tackles plus assists. You can get it at -115. But again, this is typically a number that Ramsey stays under. He stayed under 4.5 64% of the time this season. And the Packers are the team that actually provide the fewest tackle opportunities for quarterbacks in the league. That's because Jordan Love just tends to spread it around, tends to throw downfield at a high rate, so has a lower completion percentage, brings safeties into the mix when it comes to tackles. Plus, the Packers have been more run heavy lately, and Josh Jacobs tends to run inside at one of the highest rates in the league. So those are run plays that are going to be, less likely for Ramsey to be involved in as well. So Ramsey's probably going to be covering, Christian Watson or Dontavian Wicks for most of this game. Both are, more downfield, low target kind of guys. And with Kendall Fuller expected to miss, I'm guessing, Jordan Love's is going to target the side of the field Ramsey isn't on, which should lower his, tackle opportunities even more. So projecting him closer to 3.8 with about a 65% chance to stay under 4.5 here.
Okay. Simon, which side you on?
Yeah, once again, going with the public, going with the Packers at -3, and it's really all about just the Thanksgiving spot. We've talked about this, Chad. These teams on Thanksgiving, the favorites, it tend to go their way, and especially on these Thursday night games. And we've had data now backing it up that since they brought this game into the fold, they're 13-4 against the spread, favorites on the Thursday night. So it's not shocking here that I'm going to love this Packers team, right? I like this matchup for them. I think Miami, as good as they've looked these last couple of weeks, we've talked about, they've played teams that probably aren't going to make the playoffs, Chad. And isn't that who Miami always beats up on? Bad teams that aren't going to make the playoffs. And when they face good teams that are above 500, they struggle, especially when, I don't know if you agree with me, but I think most people would. LaFleur, to me, is the better coach. And in this matchup, I kind of give him the favoritism. So the fact that it's down to 3, it's not that shocking to see the professionals and the public kind of come on this Miami side, just because Miami has looked better and Jordan Love has that turnover issues. But I think last week we saw what this Green Bay team is going to kind of turn into, right? They're going to be a run-first team. That seems like it's their bread and butter. They're just so much better on offense when they're running the ball down teams' throats and just then playing off the pass off that. So we know that Tua, it's below 40 degrees. He's 0-4 straight up, 1-3 against the spread. That's a big deal, especially when his team's failing to cover by 18 points per game in those matchups. So the numbers play out that way. We love Green Bay at home, at Lambeau in a cold game. Give me the -3, Chad.
Yeah, you mentioned Tua not winning or coming back and beating non-winning, non-playoff teams. 2-10 straight up, 3-8-1 against the spread, away from home versus winning teams in his NFL career. Also, Matt LaFleur, 60+% as a favorite at home, coaching the Packers. So not a bad spot to be in, to be on the side of the Packers here. Raybon, what's your choice?
Let's go with the under in this game as well. Under 47. This is a high total for a game that, as Evan mentioned, it's going to be below freezing. As Simon mentioned, the Packers are a lot run heavier now than they were earlier in the season. So they're going to hand it to Josh Jacobs a ton. And then on the other side, the Dolphins, the way they're playing now, they're not really getting the explosive plays that we came to know of them, a couple years ago. They were super explosive offense. Now Tua is just getting the ball out quick, and they're kind of throwing underneath. Their run game is also not as efficient as it was last year with Achane and Mostert, who's not even really playing that much. So this Dolphin team, just longer drives up and down the field when they score. And then Green Bay, because they're running more, it creates a little bit less turnover variance with Jordan Love, and they go on longer drives as well. So you got that. You got the weather, is going to play a factor here. And if you look at the trends, the under when the temperature is freezing or below, 59 and 38, 61% over the last decade. So give me the under 47 in this Dolphins-Packers matchup.
I agree with you, Raybon. This total seems oddly high for a game that's going to be played at night in relatively extreme cold temperatures, especially extreme cold temperatures for a Dolphins team where, while their offense is not as much about throwing the ball down the field, and now the Packers, actually, that's what they like to do a little bit more, the wind is also going to be a factor. So I'm with you. Take the under 47. That is my pick. And my favorite stat in the Action Network universe is our luck rankings, taking all the noise out of the randomness to give us a more accurate picture of a team's performance. For those who want to know more, check them out in the Action app or actionnetwork.com. This week, got some minor luck differences in a couple of games. The Giants and Cowboys is just 17. Miami and Green Bay, it creeps up. It gets close to an official luck rankings game. It's 22. We do have an official luck game between the Raiders and the Chiefs. Let's bring in Dr. Nick. Give us your take on where you're looking from a luck perspective.
Yeah, we'll start with that Miami Green Bay game, which is close to a luck rankings game. And I want to take Green Bay's team total under 25.5. Now, don't worry, Simon, they can still cover here because, as Raybon said, the under is looking good here. I just couldn't give the full under because it wasn't a luck under or anything like that. But Green Bay, second luckiest team, their luck team total is almost -3, which would be more than halfway to a luck under. So, their side definitely looks under-y. And Miami's defense, they're good against the run-ish, but really against the pass, they keep teams in front of them. So, I think this is a spot where Green Bay is going to be very run-heavy. And when they do pass, Miami allows the 5th shortest passes against them. So this is a spot where I think clock is going to run. Maybe Miami struggles to move the ball, maybe not. But either way, I just think this is a spot where Green Bay, they don't need to run up the score if this stays under. And if Miami does cover, that's also not good news for Green Bay here. So I've got this still good even at 24.5, which is above that key number of 24.
All right, Dr. Nick, last week you pegged the Miami Dolphins team total, which they almost cashed in the first half, running it back with another team total, this time under 25.5. You really want to stink it up with your second luck bet today. Tell the people what you're thinking.
Yeah, well, Chad, I actually have a question for you. If I had you flip a coin 30 times, what do you think the chances are of getting heads 25 or more?
I would say it is extraordinarily high.
Extraordinarily low. Yeah, the high number, right? Like 1 in
Yes.
6,000 is the probability of having 25 or more heads. Well, that's what we have here with this luck game. This is the official luck game. So I'm going to take the Raiders plus 13, a luck gap of 36%, luck difference of 29. This is the trend here, Chad. Luck gap above 30% after week 12. The unlucky team, which is the Raiders here, 25-4-1 against the spread since 2018. So, that's the 25 out of 30 games right there that the unlucky team has covered the spread. It's 15-1 if that team is also on the road. It's 18-0-1 since 2020. And it's 8-0 since we started the luck rankings in 2022. So it's not just a backward-looking thing. It's been predictive as well. And it's 4-0 if Kansas City is the lucky team, which, of course, they are the lucky team here in this matchup. I will say the only caveat, just 1-1 if week 13 is also Thanksgiving, but still 6-2 in week 13's overall. But I think we have to back the trend here and take the Raiders as the unlucky team with this kind of a trend.
Yeah, unfortunately, that seems to be the way a lot of us are headed. Let's get a little bit more into the Black Friday game between the Raiders and the Chiefs. Also, some quarterback uncertainty there. As Dr. Nick said, the Chiefs now 13-point favorites. Sean Koerner, what do you got?
Yeah, so I'm going to go with DeAndre Hopkins under 41.5 receiving yards. This has dropped 2 yards since we've been on air. Hopefully it doesn't burn me like the Wandale prop last week, but still like it here at 41.5. Hopkins is going to be key for the Chiefs in the playoffs and their, quest for the three-peat. But they've been pretty cautious with his playing time lately. He's actually seen his routes run rate go down 4 straight games now. I think it's probably bottomed out by now, and it'll go slightly up here. But again, he's going to be out there for roughly half of Mahomes' dropbacks, so it really lowers his upside. And I'm expecting there to be just fewer dropbacks in general because this should be a run-heavy game plan. Sounds like they're getting Isaiah Pacheco back, so they'll lean on him now that he's back. Plus, the Raiders have really struggled against tight ends, so this is a great spot for both Travis Kelce and Noah Gray here. So, Hopkins still going to get a handful of targets, but he's unlikely to maintain this 81% catch rate he's had since joining the Chiefs. Next Gen Stats has his expected catch rate closer to 65%. So I think this is a good spot to kind of fade Hopkins a little bit here. So I'm going to go under 41.5 receiving yards. I'm projecting his median closer to 36 here.
All right, so still some wiggle room. Simon, I feel like you like what Dr. Nick was saying. You may be on mute, buddy.
Yeah, you're right, Chad. Dr. Nick nailed it. This is a spot I love to take this team and the Raiders. And it's really all about the number, right? And we've kind of had a rhythm here with Mahomes, and we have a good read on him that, okay, if it's under 3, he's a favorite or a dog, you take him. If it's over 3, 3.5, you fade them. It doesn't get that more complicated. And when it goes up even more, so when it's above 7, it's even more of a reason to go against them, right? They're just a team that they don't really need to blow teams out anymore. That's just not the team they are. They take the foot off the gas. They like to be run heavy in the second half, kind of impose their will. The Raiders, they're a great team at backdoor. I mean, they literally almost backdoored last week with a backup quarterback in there. And, they just had some bad luck. So it's all about this number with the Chiefs team. We've seen this season as a favorite of 6 points or more. They're 6-0 straight up. Not shocking, right? But they're 0-5-1 against the spread this season. So it's just a team that when the number goes up, they struggle. Now it goes above 7.5 points. They're 0-4 against the spread. So we've just seen that trend where if they're a big favorite, you go against them and you hope for a backdoor. Just looking at this matchup, I do think this team will move the ball on them, this Raiders team. It's a good matchup for Brock Bowers. And, the fact that you can get 13 now, such a key number, I have to take it, the Raiders in the spot.
Yeah, the number's gone up since we nearly went on air. It's ticked up from 12.5 to 13. Raybon, final pick.
Let's go with a trifecta, another under 42.5. I think this is just going to be another game where it's a lot sloppier than people think because you have a new Raiders quarterback, and that it's just hard to prepare on a short week. Aiden O'Connell, he's been out, dealing with an injury. Now he's been activated and he's going to play. I mean, maybe even Desmond Ridder gets in the game. Who knows? But I just don't think, this coaching staff isn't great as it is. And now you have to go up against a Steve Spagnuolo D. I think that's advantage Chiefs defense on the short weeks. I actually don't think the Raiders will move the ball very well. But the Chiefs, they're starting to give up a lot of pressure on their offensive line. That's one thing the Raiders can actually do. The Raiders defense is not great, but they can get some pressure, on the edge. And we saw Carolina, of all teams, getting pressure on Mahomes and getting off the field on money downs. And I do think the Chiefs are going to be run heavy, as Sean and Simon alluded to. That's kind of what their MO has been. And that's why if you look at the Chiefs, in the Andy Reid era, when they're a home favorite, the under is 56, 30, and 1, 65%. They don't like to blow teams out. They'll go all the way down to the 1 yard line and then kneel it out if they have to. So I think this is another good under spot.
I do like the under. I'm going to go with Simon and Dr. Nick on the plus 13. It's just too much given what we've seen from Mahomes and the expectation for what a game in the division should be like in terms of the spread and sort of the historical cover percentages for the underdog in that spot. But also from a matchup point of view, we have seen the Chiefs, they slow it down in the second half. They run and they rely on the fact that Patrick Mahomes can convert third and something with his arm or with his legs. And that slows the game down. It allows teams to stay in, but it just keeps the games closer and limits the scoring opportunity. So I like the under, but I like the side just a skosh more. So let's go with the Raiders plus 13. This has been the Thanksgiving and Black Friday special episode of Convince Me, wishing everybody a happy Thanksgiving and a happy, prosperous shopping day on Black Friday. Stick around for the touchdown show coming up next.
Thank you, Chad, and welcome to the Touchdown Show, special Thanksgiving edition of the show today. I'm Gilles Gallant with Action Network, along with Brian Matthews, a.k.a. the BMAT, and we've got a special guest today, BMAT. We've got Dr. Nick Giffen. He's joining us today. He's pulling double duty, though. He was just on Convince Me, and now we're bringing him here for the Touchdown Show. So here's how it works. The three of us, we're going to cover the NFL Anytime Touchdown market for all three Thanksgiving games. That's Bears, Lions, Giants, Cowboys, and Dolphins, Packers. And then we're also going to look at the Black Friday game between the Raiders and the Chiefs. We're going to have best bets for each game. And by the end of the show, we'll have a nice Thanksgiving turkey touchdown parlay to snack on. Near the end of the show, we might even discuss what we're thankful for this year, some of the touchdown bets that we've hit throughout the season. But first up, If you want access to all of Action Pro projections, make sure to sign up for our annual subscription. That is our best price of the year. Access includes exclusive player prop picks from Sean Koerner and other members of the Action Analytics team. You also get access to exclusive expert articles, our best spread, money line, and total bets, and real ticket and money percentages. To sign up, visit actionnetwork.com/Black Friday today. No promo code needed for our Black Friday sale. Now is the time to get the best price of the year on Action Pro. All right, gentlemen, first game of the day, Bears, Lions. Lions, huge double-digit favorites with an over-under of 48.5. Right at the top of the list, you've got the two running backs from the Lions, Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, both around -170, and then Amon-Ra St. Brown at -105. And then we start to see the plus odds. You start to see DeAndre Swift at +180, Jameson Williams +220, DJ Moore +230, and it just slowly increases with Sam Laporta, Roschon Johnson, Keenan Allen, and Rome Odunze. Gentlemen, of these guys right now, I don't want to make this the Jameson Williams show because I've bet him now in the last two shows, but I want to go back to him again in this matchup. So that's going to be my best bet for Bears Lions. I'm going to take Jameson Williams for an anytime touchdown at +220. So he's got 4 touchdowns this year. And I think could be a matchup he could exploit, similar to why I was very high on Jordan Addison last week against this Bears defense, because the Bears play zone at a top 10 rate, but they defend the short pass really well. They're top 5 in defensive DVOA versus the short pass, but they're actually bottom 5 against the deep ball, and they've given up the 6th most catches of 20 yards or more and 5th most catches of 40 yards or more. I bring that up because Jamo has like the highest ADOT on the team against both zone and man coverages. He's got 2 touchdowns this year versus zone, second on the team in target share. So Jamo is who I like to score an anytime touchdown against this Bears defense. Nick, you're up next. Who do you like to score a touchdown in Bears Lions?
Yeah, I'm gonna go over to the underdogs here, and for the Chicago Bears, I'm gonna take Keenan Allen for an anytime touchdown at +333, +333. This is all about the specific, defensive style that Detroit plays here. Detroit plays the most man coverage in the NFL, and Keenan Allen, his target share jumps from 18.5% against zone coverage to 27% of his routes run versus man. I mean, that's a pretty crazy jump, like a 50% relative jump. And like I said, that's great against Detroit, who plays the most man in the NFL. Detroit, they're also worse versus slot wide receivers than they are, versus receivers out wide. It's pretty telling when nearly half of the production for wide receivers comes in the slot, when you got 2 wide positions and 1 slot position, and the slot is nearly matching the 2 wide positions there. So that should help Keenan Allen as well. And look, this Bears offense under new offensive coordinator Thomas Brown has been much better since they fired Shane Waldron. They really moved the ball against 2 tough defenses, Green Bay and Minnesota. And now they have another NFC North tough defense that they're going to have to move the ball against. But this offense has been very concentrated since Thomas Brown took over. So I think we'll see that concentration continue. And when you're an underdog like this, who do you go to? You go to Old Reliable. And I think that's going to be Keenan Allen here in a great matchup for him. So I have him projected for fair value around +275.
It's funny too with Keenan Allen, because in his history with the Chargers, he was way more successful against zone defenses. That was usually where we would want to go for him. But this year, and especially under the Bears offense, way more effective against man coverage. And you just illustrated it right now that the Lions, they probably play the most aggressive man coverage in the NFL. So Keenan Allen +333 is going to be Nick's best bet for Bears Lions. B-Matt, what do you like for this game? Are you going on the Lions side, or are you going on the Bears side for your touchdown pick?
Yeah, so I'm going to go back to the Lions side, and my first pick is going to be Sam Laporta, anytime touchdown at +240. I think, and Gilles, you've got a great stat about the number of touchdowns he scored indoor. I'll let you kind of take it home with that. But he had 2 red zone targets last week, unable to score. The passing game didn't get much going as far as the touchdowns concerned, but he's got 3 touchdowns in his last 6 games. I expect him to be busy. I think that, Amon-Ra St. Brown comes in banged up. I still think that he plays. I think David Montgomery plays. But this isn't a matchup that's particularly friendly to the outside receivers. And I just think that this is a game that Sammy Ballgame excels at. So let's go Sammy Laporta, anytime touchdown at +240.
Well, we saw TJ Hawkinson last week. He had 7 catches for over 100 yards. So there is tight ends having success on this defense. The stat that I was bringing up was that he's scored 15 touchdowns in his career. 11 have been scored at home. All of them have been scored indoors as well. So, and also for what it's worth, I mean, he did score in the Thanksgiving game last year if you wanted to use that trend, but whatever, it's one season. But again, Sam Laporta. The other thing too that I would bring up, Nick used to put me onto this, was that Sam Laporta tends to score touchdowns in the first half. So of the 15 touchdowns, 13 of them have been scored in the first half. The only ones that weren't scored in the first half was the 3 touchdown game that he had last year, where 2 of them were scored in the second half. So just something, if you're looking for a little extra steam on Sam Laporta, that's around plus 450. But again, just for an anytime, it's a nice little safe spot here for Sammy Ballgame at plus 240. So that's going to be B-Matt's pick. He's taking Sam Laporta. Nick is on Keenan Allen, and I am on Jameson Williams. But guys, we need to decide. I want to use one of these guys as a parlay leg for Thanksgiving. And I'll just ask you to hear me out. What do you think of putting Jamo at plus 220 on that for a parlay leg? Nick, what do you think of that one?
You know, I'm in on that one. Look, the Bears, they play a lot of single high safety, a lot of cover 3, and that's a great spot for Jameson Williams to get hit with a deep ball there. So really like that one.
B-Matt, are you okay with you using Jamo over Sammy?
We talked about we talked about Jamo versus cover 3 last week, and just like Nick said there, that's a good spot for him. So
all right. So Jameson Williams is going to be the first leg of the same game parlay. Let's now move to Giants Cowboys, with Cowboys as 3.5 point home favorites with an over under of 37. And what's funny, gentlemen, is there are no minus odds touchdown scores for this game. You go right to the top of the list. You see Rico Dowdle at even odds, followed by Tyrone Tracy at plus 150. Then you're seeing CD Lamb and Malik Neighbors, both at plus 180 and plus 250. Ezekiel Elliott at plus 375. I don't think anybody's going to be playing that anytime soon. And then Brandon Cooks at plus 390. Then you start to see, Wan'Dale Robinson, Jalen Tolbert, Luke Schoonmaker, and rounded out the top 10 with Devin Singletary at plus 460. So B-Matt, when we're looking at these odds, there's some pretty tasty odds for some guys, mainly because we're seeing such implied low totals for each team. But I still think there's one guy that maybe we should look at. What do you like for this game?
I mean, what I'm sensing is that we just might need a collab, and I think Malik Neighbors might be the guy. What say you?
It's sitting there at plus 240, man, right now. Like, I love Malik Neighbors in this game. Go ahead. Like, you could start us off, but I'll tell you more about why I like it here in a second.
Hey, look, we talk about it all the time. Last year we did too, about the squeaky wheel narrative, right? Like when a wide receiver is upset, it normally is in the best interest of the coach and the coaching staff and the offensive game plan to get them involved early the next week. Now, to be fair, I have said this the last 3 weeks, and it seems like Malik Neighbors does not get involved in the game plan until the second quarter. But he came out after they asked him, about his touches. He said, you'll have to ask Dabbs, referring to Brian Daboll. So I think that's something that they're going to have to get him the ball early. It's a great matchup. And even though he didn't get involved until late, he still had 6 receptions and made some big plays for them. So yeah, I love this. I think volume is king. And then again, I think if Tommy DeVito is hurt and Drew Lock is the starter, then I would venture to say that I like this pick a whole lot more in that case.
Yeah, I was definitely going to echo that. If we see Drew Lock, I love this pick even more than if Tommy DeVito is playing. But I think with Neighbors, it's hard to overlook. I mean, 11.4 targets per game this season. When they played the Cowboys, he had 11 catches, 115 yards. Obviously went out with that concussion, but he was amazing in that game. And the Cowboys secondary, they're 23rd in defensive DVOA versus the pass, 17 passing touchdowns allowed. So I'm not really too worried about them being able to stop Neighbors if they get him involved. And again, I don't want to make too much about that turmoil, the squeaky wheel. Obviously, like, not all squeaky wheels are created equal. Quarterback play is very dependent on that. But I'm willing to overlook it in this game. I just think he's too talented, and this secondary, again, with the Cowboys, isn't really scaring anybody. So it's around plus 240, plus 250. We got it at plus 280 yesterday, but again, I would still play it at those odds. So B-Matt and I, we're going to collab on Malik Neighbors to get back into the end zone and score a touchdown on this Cowboys defense. Nick, speaking of wide receivers and squeaky wheels, who do you like for this game to score a touchdown?
Yeah, well, real quick, I just want to say I like that Malik Neighbors too, right? Plus 280. We definitely had projection value there. Still do, like I said, at plus 240, 250. Certainly thinner, but I like it. But I'm going to go to the other team's first number 1 wide receiver, and that's CD Lamb. Currently at plus 180. I love this full unit play here. Just like the Keenan Allen Detroit situation, we have another situation where we have a stud wide receiver who destroys man coverage against a team that plays a lot of man coverage. Right now, the Giants have played the fourth most man coverage over the last 6 weeks. They've always been kind of a man-heavy team under Brian Daboll. And CeeDee Lamb, his target share ticks up to just below 30% when he's facing man coverage. So I think this is a spot he's just going to be fed like crazy, which is pretty fitting on Thanksgiving. If you're going to be fed like crazy, you might want to top it off with a touchdown for dessert there. CeeDee Lamb, he converts these routes that he faces versus man coverage to the tune of 3.4 yards per route run versus just 1.6 yards per route run versus zone coverage. All three of his touchdowns, when you either look at man coverage or zone coverage, not some of these other miscellaneous schemes or red zone schemes, but just looking at man versus zone, 3 touchdowns versus man, none versus zone. So I think CeeDee Lamb, I'm getting all my man coverage guys mixed up here. I think CeeDee Lamb goes off in this game. I think he has a monster game, and I'm projecting his touchdown fair value closer to plus 150, a little bit north of that, like plus 155.
Well, and I think the Lions have proven that not all man coverage is created equal, or even like a team like the Jacksonville Jaguars. If you can't employ it properly, you are going to get burned. And the Giants, CeeDee Lamb he scored on them earlier in the season. Mind you, it was Dak Prescott, a quarterback. But again, CeeDee Lamb, the volume is going to be there, similar to what we like about Malik Neighbors as well. So CeeDee Lamb is going to be Nick's pick. B-Matt and I, we're going to collab on Malik Neighbors. Now, before we get to the next game, we have to pick a parlay leg from this game. Man, I like Malik Neighbors a lot, but I still like CeeDee Lamb at plus 180. I think is where we got to go here, right?
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think we went Neighbors with our pick, so let's jump with Nick on this side for the parlay leg.
Yeah, and I don't think Nick's going to dispute that. I think he wants CeeDee Lamb as part of the leg as well, so that's good. So CeeDee Lamb is going to be the second leg of the parlay, so we're going to pair that with Jamo right now, and we're going to reveal the third leg of the parlay after we finish our Dolphins-Packers preview. But now let's talk Dolphins-Packers. And the Packers, home favorites of by a field goal with an over-under of 47, although we are expecting to have some weather elements play into this game, some snow, some maybe rain showers. But right at the top of the list, you have Josh Jacobs coming off a 3-touchdown game against the 49ers. He's around minus 160. Then you've got Devon Achane at minus 105, Tyreek Hill at plus 150, Jaden Reed at plus 170. Then you start to see the plus 200 odds with guys like Jalen Waddle, Christian Watson, Tucker Kraft, Jonnu Smith. Then you see Dontavian Wicks and Raheem Mostert, who led the NFL in touchdowns last year, all the way up to plus 430. So looking at these odds, Nick, I'm not sure where you're leaning if you like anybody on the Dolphins side, but it seems like you like somebody to score on the Packers side.
Yeah, this game's tough because there's so many potential scorers. I mean, you look at the Dolphins side, they have 3 or 4 different guys that can score week in and week out. Same with the Packers. Now, it seems like Romeo Doubs is going to be out, so I'm going to look at this wide receiver trio, and I wanted to go my Virginia boy Dontavian Wicks, but I'm going to go Christian Watson instead, plus 230. I just think this is a spot where, yes, there could be some weather, but Christian Watson, he's so explosive. He's such a big play guy that you could hit him on short passes. You can hit him on deep passes. He could, get an end around, those kinds of things, jet sweeps, all sorts of stuff that Christian Watson can do here that could give Miami fits. And I know there's potentially going to be some wind, but you can still hit him on a deep ball here. Miami, 5th worst defensively DVOA versus deep passes, and Christian Watson has the longest ADOT on the team for the Green Bay Packers here. So when you got these 3 wide receivers now that are going to be playing probably a vast majority of these snaps, over 75% of the snaps, right? Whereas Christian Watson's normally playing maybe between 50 to 65% because they have this 4-headed monster at wide receiver. That's just going to give him some extra opportunity without Romeo Doubs, who certainly seems like he's not going to play. He hasn't been confirmed out yet, but I think at this point it's pretty safe to say he won't be in. So really like Christian Watson here, projecting fair value on him at 2-1. Yeah,
Doubs, I think, is still probably in concussion protocol after that 49ers game. So it's looking unlikely that he'll play. But if he does, we'll adjust from there. But if he's not playing, Nick, I know you didn't bring this up, and again, different quarterback, different schemes, some of the different personnel, but in the 4 games that Romeo Doubs didn't play in his rookie season, Christian Watson scored 8 touchdowns in that stretch. It was wild. That was when he really exploded, like 3 touchdowns against the Cowboys. Again, different team, different quarterback, all that stuff. But it's still, I think we had to just mention that, just that when Romeo Doubs isn't in the lineup, Christian Watson tends to get fed. So at plus 230, that is where Nick is going with his best bet for Dolphins Packers. I want to do another collab, B-Matt. I know that we're both going to conclude on the same guy. We both talked about it. Why don't we just both collab on Tyreek Hill? He's around plus 150. I mean, Tyreek, he's got 2 touchdowns in 4 games with Tua Tagovailoa back, 5 red zone targets on that stretch. And I find it encouraging as well that both of those touchdowns were scored inside the 10-yard line. We all know that Tyreek Hill is probably one of the best deep threats of all time in the NFL, but the Packers have actually been pretty decent at limiting the deep pass. But the good news is there should be some boost for the Dolphins passing attack, considering that cornerback Jair Alexander isn't going to play. And then, of course, the poor weather angle, you're going to hear that. That's going to be beaten over your head for pretty much the entire week. But for me, I'd like to go back and just recap some of those games that Tyreek and Tua Tagovailoa played, because he scored in Kansas City last year on a 53-yard touchdown, and that was colder than these temperatures right now, or for that game. He was around plus 155 in that game. Just to bring up memories here, if you might recall, Nick, you and Charlie collabed on that pick around plus 150, and then he did score, both him and Rashee Rice in that game. And then, of course, when they played in Buffalo back in 2022, that was another cold temperature game. He scored a 20-yard touchdown. He was plus 145 in that game. I just bring that up because a lot of people will just immediately look at the temperature and say, well, Dolphins are done. They're not going to score. And it's like, well, they still scored. They just might not win. You know, I think that's really the main thing here. So I thought this was going to be closer to around plus 120. So at plus 150, I love the value. B-Matt, I know we talked about it, that maybe you were considering Jonnu. Why did you end up concluding on Tyreek Hill for this game with me?
Yeah, I went back and realized, I said, oh, wait, Jonnu scored 2 weeks in a row. And general rule of thumb is, I don't love, rolling with the guy unless we're talking about Tyreek Hill or an Amon-Ra St. Brown, maybe, where, the volume is just, undeniable and the matchups right. So, I initially was going to go Jonnu, but I got to go Tyreek here. And I also think, Gilles, you sent me a hilarious tweet from Tyreek Hill, where it says the guy walking down the street with his girlfriend, but he's not looking at his girlfriend. He's looking behind him at the new thing, and that's Devon Achane and Jonnu Smith. And he retweets it and says, this is exactly how I'm feeling. So if he's feeling that way, man, he's about to go off. So let's go with the cheetah.
All right, so Tyreek Hill at plus 150. B-Matt and I are going to collab on that. And Nick is going to be on Christian Watson at plus 230. I'm probably going to veto everybody here. I just want to put Tyreek Hill as the third leg for this parlay. Like I was looking at Devon Achane, and I was there was too much uncertainty for me for feeling good about some of the guys there at the top of the list. So I think Tyreek Hill is a good third leg for this parlay. And right now, when you actually put those 3 together, so that's Jamison Williams, CeeDee Lamb, and Tyreek Hill, that parlay comes out to around 22-1 at FanDuel right now. So it's just under 22-1. So I love this parlay. We'll probably put a 0.1 unit on it here, and make sure to follow the Parlay Express account in the Action app. You can find that parlay there as well in the Touchdown Show account. All right, so that's Thanksgiving games. But don't forget, we still have a Black Friday game. So let's look at the Black Friday game between the Raiders and the Chiefs. Chiefs, big favorites, 12.5-point favorites with an over-under of 42.5. And you can see Sportsbook's kind of hedging their bets here because they've got Isaiah Pacheco at minus 140 right at the top of the list. And he is coming off injury. He supposedly did practice as well, full practice. But then you also have Kareem Hunt at minus 135, Travis Kelce at plus 130. Alexander Madison at plus 220. I'm not sure if I agree with that. I thought Amir Abdullah played much better over the last few weeks, but he's at plus 220, followed by DeAndre Hopkins at plus 235, Abdullah plus 245. And then you start to see the odds just start to ratchet up with Xavier Worthy at plus 250, Brock Bowers, Noah Gray down to plus 270 after scoring 4 touchdowns over the last 2 games, and they round out the top 10 with Jacoby Myers at plus 333. Now, B-Matt, looking at this odds list, who are you liking to score a touchdown in the Raiders-Chiefs game?
Yeah, I hate to go so close to the top of the list here, but you just mentioned that Noah Gray has scored 4 touchdowns as of late. And if I'm Travis Kelce, who that's going to be the pick here, I'm going to go Travis Kelce anytime touchdown at plus 130. I'm sitting there looking like, what in the world, man? Like, what do I have to do? So I feel like it's a matter of time. I get, Noah Gray's had some good games. I just think that this is a spot we've seen Noah Gray his end zone equity increase as of late, and I think that'll flip back to Kelce. It's a good matchup for him. Scored against him earlier, and if you look too, both Mike Gesicki and Jonnu Smith both scored 2 touchdowns against this defense this year. I believe Drew Sample as well scored 1. So it's not a terrible matchup. It's a solid matchup, and I just think that Kelce's going to get in the end zone this weekend or this.
Well, and Travis Kelce, it's weird the way that this offense has gone because he's getting volume, but then sometimes when they get to the end zone, you start to see these jet sweeps with like Xavier Worthy, or you see McCole Hardman is still getting involved, right? So that's one of the things that is always a little like you always have a little bit of trepidation with betting certain Chiefs touchdown scores, but Travis Kelce, to bet Taylor Swift's boyfriend and get him at plus 130, I'm okay with that, right? So. Well, we have to make sure it's part of the contract. We have to mention Taylor Swift every week, So, all right. I actually like a guy on the Raiders to score a touchdown. A guy who did score a touchdown on the Chiefs earlier this year, and that is Jacoby Myers. So his odds right now are around plus 330. So he's got 2 touchdowns this year with 10 red zone targets. I bring that up because that's the same amount as tight end Brock Bowers, and Jacoby Myers has missed 2 games. He's averaging 8.3 targets per game, while Bowers is averaging just under 9 targets per game. So there's not a big difference, in my opinion, as far as volume is concerned when it comes to those 2 players. And we've seen the main way to attack this Chiefs defense. It's usually slot receivers who could be a big body over the middle. The Chiefs, they play man defense at a top 6 rate. Myers actually leads the team in target share versus man defenses. And I bring up the slot receivers. The guys who have scored on them over the last few games have kind of fit Jacoby Myers' profile. You've got David Moore scoring in the slot, Curtis Samuel, Devon Vele, all lining up out of the slot. And Myers, to his credit, he will move around. He lines up in the slot just under 40% of the time, less than Bowers, obviously, who's a tight end. So Jacoby Myers is who I like to score a touchdown in this game. On the Chiefs side, I'm not really feeling too many guys, but I know that Nick has an awesome bet that I love, and he's going all in on one specific Raider. Yeah. Nick, who do we like?
Yeah, I gotta go to my guy. You went Jacoby Myers, but I think it's the other wide receiver. I'm going Trey Tucker. Trey Tucker for an anytime touchdown. I got him. I took him. If you follow me in the Action app, I took him on Tuesday, I believe it was. Maybe even Monday. I think it was Monday at 5-1. He's now plus 420, which I still like. So taking him plus 420, but I'm taking his first touchdown, 31-1. I think it's now 28-1. I'm taking 2+ touchdowns. I got it 71. I think it's 55-1 now. And I even parlayed first touchdown with 2+ touchdowns. We're going all in, right? That's over 200 to 1. We're going all in on Trey Tucker this week. Just hit the Trey Tucker ladder last week, and part of what helped that was, unfortunately for Gardner Minshew, he got that injury, that collarbone injury. Well, after that, Desmond Ridder targeted Trey Tucker a whole bunch, and Tucker got 7 receptions in that game. Well, it's probably not going to be Desmond Ridder. It's probably going to be Aiden O'Connell, who is coming back from a broken thumb at quarterback. But I actually think that's even better as far as touchdowns are concerned for Trey Tucker, because AOC and Sean Koerner loves to compare Aiden O'Connell to Jameson Winston, kind of gunslinger attitude, just throw it deep and hope it doesn't get picked, that kind of thing. Well, that's perfect for deep balls that beat man coverage. And Trey Tucker, when Aiden O'Connell is throwing to him, they hook up for a 7.1 adjusted net yards per attempt, which, adjusts for touchdowns, sacks, interceptions, all that kind of thing. Whereas Gardner Minshew was only 5.3 adjusted net yards per attempt. So we're talking like per target, like 2 yards more. And that target share should go up because Trey Tucker is much better versus man coverage. He has a 17% target share versus man versus just 11% versus zone. And that is the same as last year. I think it was like 18-10 last year. You talked about how Kansas City plays a lot of man coverage. And also, I would be not doing my job if I didn't mention this is a luck rankings game, the biggest luck rankings game of the week. This has a luck gap of 36%. That means the Las Vegas Raiders record is 36% more unlucky than the Kansas City Chiefs record. And when we have luck gaps over 30% this late in the season, so week 13 or later, the unlucky team has covered the spread 25 out of 30 games. There has been 4 times they did not cover the spread and 1 push. That's absurd. That is absolutely absurd. And the Raiders are 12 and a half point underdogs here. So the way the cover is they either hold Kansas City down, which is pretty hard to do, or they score. And I think Las Vegas is going to score some points here. So Jakobi Meyers can get a touchdown, but Trey Tucker is going to get all the touchdowns.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of that Christmas Day game like last year where there was a huge like luck rankings gap, right? So that was something that I immediately thought of. And Trey Tucker, I mean, you cashed on his like reception ladder. He's playing over 90% of snaps too. So it's not like he's just like this bit player who only comes in on special formations or anything like that. So Trey Tucker, the fact that we're getting him at, plus 420 for an anytime touchdown, and there's just lots of different angles that we can go with that. So Trey Tucker, the Mother Tucker ladder is looking really good here. So that is going to be Nick's pick. He is taking Trey Tucker and he's going all in on Trey Tucker for this game. I'm going to be on Jakobi Meyers and B-Matt is on Travis Kelce for a touchdown at plus 130. All right, gentlemen, before we get out of here, I just wanted to say thank you to both of you, really. One of the things I'm really thankful for this Thanksgiving is both of you guys just talking touchdowns with me, coming on the show. But from a touchdown perspective this year, the thing that I am the most thankful for is the Ravens defense, because the Ravens defense has allowed 16 touchdowns to wide receivers this year, and 4 of those have been responsible for 2 of my 2 touchdown bets that I've hit this year. So 2 to T. Higgins in week 5, and then 2 to Terry McLaurin in week 6. We had a 16-1 and a 14-1 for 2 touchdown bets. And I would actually even say I'll triple down on the thanks, because Nick, if you remember, Jamar Chase, second half touchdown, that was where we cashed that as well against this Ravens defense. And it was around plus 270, but it doesn't matter. It was still a nice win for both of us. So that is what I'm thankful for this year, is that this Ravens defense still has the name recognition that would necessarily make guys have more inflated odds, but having the ineptness to not really stop them. So Ravens defense is what I'm thankful for this year. Nick, who are you thankful for NFL betting this year?
Yeah, well, I do have to point out, I guess I should be thankful for Jamar Chase second half touchdowns. I've bet it twice this year. It's hit twice this year. I bet it once last year. It hit once last year. So I'm 3 for 3 on Jamar Chase second half touchdowns. But I'm also thankful, crazy enough, for Jameis Winston. 31-1 touchdown on Bet What Happens Live we had in the Snow Bowl versus Pittsburgh on Thursday night.
B-Matt was there.
I was at the game.
And also my biggest touchdown hit of the year in terms of units won. Not the longest odds, but I had a full unit bet on David Njoku plus 425. And in that game, I believe it was against the Bengals, Jameis Winston comes in for the last drive and throws a late touchdown to David Njoku for my biggest touchdown bet. But we all know I'm going to be thankful for Trey Tucker after Thanksgiving, after Black Friday.
Absolutely. All right. So Trey Tucker, Jameis Winston. I'm thankful for the Ravens defense. B-Matt, before we get out of here, who are you thankful for touchdowns and NFL betting this year?
Yeah, I guess a few things. I'm thankful for the Raiders defense. I'm thankful for Justin Fields' inability to pass the ball downfield effectively and consistently, which led to my 18-1 Justin Fields 2 touchdown bet against the Raiders. Also thankful for the rookies. A lot of them came through for me this year. Brian Thomas being one of those. And I'm going to add Jameis Winston to that list, because without Jameis Winston, I don't hit my David Njoku touchdown bet, and I don't finally break my promise to not bet on a Browns player. If Jameis Winston doesn't start a game at quarterback, I go the whole year without betting a Browns player. And look what happened. We got Njoku. So, yeah.
Well, things are turning up. All right. All right. Well, that's all for today. So 4 picks from each of us with the best bet for each Thanksgiving game. We've got a touchdown parlay as well for Thanksgiving. I want to remind everybody the Touchdown Show will be back here for week 13 on Sunday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern, live right after Convince Me during the Action Network Power Hour. So I want to thank you again for joining us for the Touchdown Show. for Thanksgiving. Have a great holiday, and we'll see you back here on Sunday. Bon chance.